What's up, guys? Welcome into another episode of Football and Random Things. I'm Connor Ferguson here with Jeff Woody. And before we get started, we got to say that we are presented by the fine folks at Wiffles Hybrids, the best, most independent company in the world. There, I said it.
Best.
How about that?
By far the best. Yeah, to eat that, Chris Williams.
Get me a competitor that's better than them. I bet you can't name one.
I mean, independent company, you get paid by one.
I don't, well, that's fair. I was kind of talking about in their area.
Yeah,
But yeah, Cyclone Fanatics, okay.
yeah,
It's pretty good. But
Team
Wiffles
Wiffles.
Hybrid, I would say, a lot better.
Team Wiffles.
Wiffles is awesome. So is Colin Newell. He's not here today. I don't think he wanted to talk about the game.
He's got a work conference from Monday to Wednesday somewhere. He's actually, again, being productive, being an adult. And us two idiots are here talking about whatever that was.
You can call me an idiot. I can't do that to you. I asked you too many questions. But what was your number one takeaway from that after the game ended?
The phrasing that I used when I was talking to like my in-laws and whatever, because so we watched it at our house, and my mother and father-in-law came down. And they kind of cooked and hung out a little bit, and in describing my frustration, because I was watching that game, like there were several profanities used. The thing that was frustrating is that nearly every position had mistakes that I would be mad at a high schooler for making. And some of them are ones you can sort of kind of brush by being like, well, because everybody else was sick, this dude is playing like every snap. Or some of it's just bad. Like it just wasn't well executed. And so I think the frustration was that the mistakes that were made were mistakes that I would be mad at a high schooler for making.
Yeah, and it's ultra frustrating when it comes against the team that it came against. Not that Ohio isn't good. They're the defending MAC champions, right? They're obviously a storied program for that conference specifically. They don't have a slouch at quarterback, although he didn't play that well. And Iowa State's defense, again, nearly pitches a perfect game, and that untimely interception gives Ohio a short field, and that's what allowed them to get in the end zone in the first place.
Yeah, you can't expect the defense to be perfect. You can't expect any defensive unit to be a shutout defense every single drive, especially if there's going to be a short field. And, you know, they played super well. There was, the one busted coverage in the end zone. But again, 99 out of 100 plays or whatever the total snaps were, played pretty well. And there was also only 10 drives. Like 10 drives if you exclude at the very end of the game, the kneel down. If you take that drive off, there's 10 drives in the entire game. That's 2.5 per quarter.
These new clock rules suck.
I don't think it's the clock rules. I think it's the fact that every single snap from the word go, Ohio held the ball because they wanted to shorten the game. And you'd see Rourke with his hands out to his side, essentially telling the wide receivers, hold on, snap. And so they were milking the clock the whole game. Clock rules be damned. That was game plan.
Don't you think the new clock rules like enable that though? I mean, they're going to do that anyway, but at least then you have 13, 14 drives instead of 10. That's what I don't like about it. Is that's always like turned me off about the NFL is that clock keeps running and you're getting less football for the sake of just more.
I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think it's only been a few. I mean, it's maybe 6 or 7 snaps a team on either side. So if the game was going to be slow, it was going to be slow last year. It was just that's sort of the nature of the way that they wanted to play, and it was a good game plan because they said if we can keep this defense on the field a little bit longer, we might be able to get them a little more fatigued and take advantage here or there. Or if we can just keep the other offense off the field, then they're not going to stumble their way into success, and it worked. I mean, they won 10-7.
And one dude I really want to bring up from this game, because I said at the start of the year that I think I established it after the UNI game that he's going to be my favorite guy on defense. But Ben Nickel led the team in tackles.
And he played solid. Jeremiah Cooper, again, had a heck of a game. The secondary in total played super well. The young linebackers are getting a lot better. I think 44, is that Jacob Ellis?
Yes.
So 44, I think, started. Hopefully Gary Vaughn's able to come back, but the young linebacker group is starting to improve. I think it was between McLaughlin and Bo Friedler on that touchdown. Like somebody should have carried the receiver that went to the back line. But, I mean, Ben Nickel being a captain, he's the captain for a reason, and has executed to the point where, like, hey, man, team walk on, show what you got.
Yeah, and you don't. I was telling one of my buddies when he got the C on his jersey, I said, that kid's going to be better than you think. And he goes, what do you mean? That's just a special teams captain. I said, Matt Campbell doesn't have special teams captains. This isn't like Paul Rhodes where the holder's a special teams captain.
Hey, Brett Bucher's a great human.
I'm not saying he isn't. Don't throw me under the bus like that. Uh, but no, when I saw Ben Nickel get the C on his jersey, I said that kid's going to play a little bit at the very least, and I would assume he's going to make a difference because that's the type of gritty kids that they try to put into this program, and it's cool to see, especially like walk on or not, come from that though at the start of your career and his story to getting to where he is.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. And I think the moral of the story, like the emotion from Saturday out, is frustration. I mean, it's frustration all around. And you could tell that by Campbell's reaction. You could tell that by, fan reactions, frustration all around. And the one thing that's adding to that is because your defense is performing at such a high level, and because your special teams, on average, outside of the missed field goals, your punt cover, kickoff cover, those are all way better than they were last year. The punt unit might be the best punt unit in the country. I mean, granted, it's been a short season. You haven't really watched a whole ton of other punt units across the country, but I mean, he's averaging more than 50 yards a punt, and I think he had punted 5 times, and I don't remember what Grant's statistic was yesterday, but I think 3 or 4 of them ended up inside the 10. They're heck of a special teams unit. So you have a great special teams unit, save for the field goal problems. You have a great defense, and the offense isn't contributing to that, and the field goal unit is not contributing to that. The 2 units that actually put points on the board aren't contributing at the level they need to. So it feels like you're wasting the rest of the quality of the team with the non-performing parts.
Yeah, and it's okay. So I watched the game with Kurt Schroeder. He's a late model racer. It's the second game we watched together. The other one was Texas last year. I don't think we're going to watch another football game together the rest of our lives. Just bad stuff happens. But he was asking me if they had the weird field goals at Ohio. I didn't know if you knew anything about that. He said there's a difference on how they space it comparatively to the goal line and not, because the high school ones go straight up and the college ones kind of curve. He said they were different. I don't know if that's a back in the day thing.
I don't think they can be.
I don't think they can be.
Yeah,
I figured
they're shorter for sure. They're shorter for sure, but they're not any different in where they sit in relation to the field. And also, don't flirt with it.
Right.
Don't put it near the upright.
Right. You put it in the middle.
Put it in the middle, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where they are. If the goalposts are 3 feet apart, try and fit it between the goalposts.
Now, I am an advocate for the big return nets the Arena Football League had in the mid 2000s,
where it funnels it back and you get to take it back. Oh yeah, that's good.
By far the least safe thing to ever put into a football game
is give people a 50-yard sprinting start and then turn the guy away from where those people are coming from to catch the ball.
I'm so thankful the Indoor Football League got rid of those, and I only say that because a lot of people wouldn't know that, because they just haven't seen enough Barnstormers games. They're all free on YouTube, just so you guys know.
I thought you were pointing at Aiden.
Aiden, too. He refused it. Aiden says, I don't watch
I also
sports
don't know anything about that.
Aiden says, I don't watch sports that matter, but watch Slam Ball with me all summer.
You didn't watch any Slam Ball.
I disagree. My buddy was on one of the teams. He was never on offense, though. I didn't know until the start of the game that he was
time you
only
watch
playing
Slam
defense.
Ball is when you would DM me highlights. And be like, oh, did you see this? Yes, I saw.
Yeah, I'm a big Griffins fan. They ended up going like 1-5, dude.
I didn't watch any Slam Ball.
You're missing out.
Shame on you. Yeah, you are. It's America's sport.
It's
America's fastest growing sport.
It's really easy.
That's the best thing. You can always claim fastest growing sport. You don't have to cite any stat to back it up.
And if you go from 3 fans to 6 fans, that is a doubling.
Exactly. If we convince you to be a fan by the end of today,
give me more time than that. They have a 6-game, 3-week season.
It's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure it's fun.
It's
not that I don't think that I would enjoy it. It's just I got other shit to do.
We'll just get Todd Blythe on a team next year.
You mean you're an adult and stuff?
Boo! With responsibilities. What a weirdo.
Oh, man. I don't know how we're getting back onto this Ohio game. Campbell, and you talked about the passion there. You played under Paul Rhodes. He's a pretty passionate dude. Have you ever seen anything like that out of Paul Rhodes?
No, because I don't think people really chirped at Paul.
Right.
And I also, one of the things that was interesting about today's day and age is I have a love-hate relationship, more hate than love, with basically all social media. So this is more of a diatribe here. So when I was playing, it was sort of Facebook existed, but there's a level of filtering between communication from a stranger to you. And then Twitter came along, and now granted, Twitter it existed
very
before
early.
then.
It was very early age.
So
internet.
2009 to 2013 was when I played, and so by the end of by my playing days, had gotten on Twitter. I think it was 2010, 11, something like that. And that the platform that allows for is great in that you can get access to anybody's opinions. The downside is when you're on the other side of that, anybody can reach out to you. There were people, I mean, there were times when I've played poor games and they're like, receive like, you should die, like that kind of thing. And like you have unfettered access.
Did you get like straight up cold chirps like that? Like you should
Yes.
die?
Yes.
That's, yeah.
100%. And
When I say early days of internet, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That still happens today.
it's still,
But
it absolutely
probably,
still happens.
it's way worse and way more calculated with it because that was like an insult back in the day. And I feel like today it's, you're
it's-
getting into like slurs and stuff like that. And it's bad all around.
It
Don't get me wrong.
still happens. And so, but the thing is that you have instant access to publish your opinion into the world, and then you get a feedback loop because you find the other people, or the algorithm finds other people that have the same feelings as you, and then everybody's mad, and then it validates your being mad, so you just get madder, and then you validate that you're being mad, and you get madder, and then all of a sudden you have access to somebody. And that type of thing. So I think Kirk Ferentz, it was a couple years ago when everyone was really pissed off, and he was saying that back in 2002, if you were displeased with how an offensive coach was coaching, you just complained to your buddies at the local bar when you went and got a beer after work on Thursday. That's where you had the opportunity to do it. Now you can directly talk to that person. Well, here's the thing. The people on the other side hear it. They may not read your exact tweet, but they hear it. The emotion and the energy around that is there. And so Campbell, I don't think he has any social media. I don't even know if he has like anything on his phone. Like he feels
he has a Twitter account. It's like 3 tweets a year.
yeah. It feels like
He just has one of those ladybug phones.
Yeah, it's
that
just
has
a Jitterbug.
home, wife, 911.
Yeah, there's
ESPN,
3 buttons.
Didn't ESPN have a phone
What?
similar to that?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different thing, but yeah.
But either way, so like having unfettered access, that has led the temperature to rise faster. And I think you look at guys like Dave
And
Aranda.
you're not saying hot seat.
No,
That's not what you mean by
no.
that.
Just the simmer of mad like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So you have guys like Dave Aranda. You have guys like, I mean, Aranda's in much more jeopardy than but you have guys that the entire fan base then gets madder at because you can see other people's mad at the same time, and then when that capacity of you should die, not recognizing there's another person there, when that bleeds into real life, I think people don't recognize that there are humans on the other side of that. And so that type of like, that guy's a dick. Like there's no bones about it. And I mean, fine. Say that to Matt Campbell when there's not security ropes in between.
Oh yeah,
Say that to anybody when there's not security ropes in between.
you got to be a little thankful for his teammates and everyone holding them back.
I don't think he would have like punched the guy.
No,
but like
I
would have
think
been
he
a
would have gotten his face
finger to the
and-
nose.
Yeah, and so I texted Chris about it, and he mentioned it on Williams and Bloom, and 2 guys named Chris as well. But in today's day and age, I was like, I don't know, that could really come off very poorly on social media if the right people see it.
But I also like
but what everyone says about it, like, kind of influences everyone else's opinions.
Exactly.
If you get what I'm saying?
yes, it's no one if you have a feeling, you put it out there, you're gonna find somebody else who has that feeling. Like, I think bumblebees are computers that are controlling your brain. Internet's gonna find somebody else that has that stupid thought. So I think that type of thing, it can then perpetuate itself. So about that reaction itself, I love it. Because the thing that Campbell has done for forever, at least with young teams that he's had, he's challenged more experienced teams. When it's Brock, when it's Brees, when it's Charlie and those guys, he's challenged those guys with that's an unacceptable level or whatever. The quality needs to be better. But with young teams, he's tended to protect them and saying he still said, even in this instance, when he actually got to the microphone, said, this is it's on me and whatever. That's all stuff that needs to happen. But this is the first time that he has not fully shielded everybody on the team. And that type of, when he was calling the offensive line execution embarrassing and that the other guys wanted it more, that's not fully standing in front of whatever arrows are coming. That's saying like, look, I've protected you guys enough. You might need to see some of these. And I use the example, or I use the thought, and a thing I did for Sirius Big 12 Radio was it feels like he's switching from a protective parent, whether that's mom or dad, to the other side being like, no, if you get arrested, you're spending the night in jail.
Attention to detail.
It's attention, not it's even attention to detail, but like in the sense that when I was growing up, my mom was the traditional like mom nurturing one. She was still sort of firm. My dad was the oldest boy in a 2,000 acre hog and cattle farm, who was a 4-time state place winning wrestler, who went to the Air Force, who went to construction. Like that's the type of attitude that my dad had. So it feels like Campbell has gone from at least the traditional maternal roles of, you know, it protect, make sure you don't get exposed to too much negative stuff so you can build your confidence and actually be able to execute the thing, to when my dad, when I got to high school and to the age where, you know, you get invited to parties and stuff like that, he's like, you can go, but if you get arrested, don't call me. You're spending the night in jail. And like fully took him seriously of saying like, these are the consequences for your actions, deal with it. And it feels like he's switching a little bit from that protective parent role to that parent who wants to make sure that the kid understands there's repercussions for their actions. And both of those things can be necessary. And it feels like that was the first time that he switched to more of the firm, quote, parenting style.
Yeah, he's being a Mountain West dad.
Yeah.
He's out here glittery Power 5 for a while, and now he's going back to the Air Force and doing those teams have to work way harder to get to bowl games.
And if
this team will as well.
Well, and you're going to have to work way harder, but also I think the talent is still there. Like talking about the talent, it's an understanding of what you need to do, and that this is more important. You are not putting forth the effort that is necessary for it. And if you're not going to put forth the effort for it, I'm not going to protect you from the people that are, or from all the negative stuff that's going to come at it. Like that feels like the more of the move that's going on. And like every team is different personality wise from year to year. And some teams may thrive on that, trusting that their coach is going to get their back. And then the players are going to be the ones that, be the firmer end of it or whatever. And some teams might need to get a little chirpy, like the Lions, for example, like the Lions and Chiefs in that first game. There's some skirmishes, and the Lions were like, "Your hatred makes me stronger," and they got better.
Are you suggesting we get cardinal or black ski masks?
That did not work out well for them.
I know
that did not work out well for them. But you know what I mean? Like the attitude of the team might need to be a little bit more on the aggressive side.
Chip on your shoulder type.
It might need to be that, and it feels like that beyond scheme. That feels like a thing that Campbell is probably going to pivot towards.
And that's the violence thing that Coach Clanton was raving about in the offseason. If you're going to miss an assignment, at least do it violently.
Yeah, and now you can miss it violently. Let's have less missed assignments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was not good.
Can I send a message to the Fire the Coach people?
Yeah.
I had a couple fan accounts tweeting at me about Camp. Lookout Baloo was one of them. I don't hate these people. This is just to you guys. Okay, one, you're not going to fire a coach mid-year in today's world of college football. So there's 9 games left. You might as well just enjoy what you got out of them. I don't care. If you're screaming fire the coach for 9 weeks, I can promise you it's not going to be fun to watch. I did that watching the Vikings when I was a kid. Absolute worst thing in the world. I do it with the Lakers with LeBron now, and it still doesn't work. The other thing is you have 8 to 10 freshmen on the field, right? Obviously, stuff hasn't gone according to plan, but there is a team here that has a foundation that is being built currently. This guy won a Fiesta Bowl. We still got those nine games left. I'm not saying that Matt Campbell's job is absolutely safe for next year. That's not what I'm getting at here. The dude won a Fiesta Bowl and is laying a foundation of a young team. If you're not going to give him a chance to fix it, maybe these 9 games go really haywire and we're all on the same page at the end of the year, but he won a Fiesta Bowl. I'm going to give him a chance to fix it.
Well, and I mean, if you think like the grass, one of the things is like the grass is always greener. Look at Texas. You know, Texas fired Mac Brown because fans were mad, and it took them
10 years, whole decade
at least. So 2009, I think, was when they played in the national championship against Alabama. 2008, played the national championship against Alabama. Now, granted, the standards of Texas are slightly different than the standards at Iowa State, but they were to the point where Texas was losing season after losing season, and they went through 5 different head coaches because people were irritated with Mac Brown. And now this is the first season where they've been, quote, good. But we're 3 games into it. They might still be in that situation of the grass is not always greener if you're mad about something, it's probably, I mean, the instant that it gets frustrating, probably not the best time to get rid of whomever that is going to be. So again, let's the narrative should be put to bed. Now, if Iowa State loses every game from here on out, yeah, we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
But two losses, even just because you're mad, you know who completely changes trajectory when they're mad after what is this, 10%, 12% of the entire season? You know who does that? Or 12% of some activity? Toddlers. Toddlers do that. Toddlers get mad, and then they throw a tantrum because they didn't get the crust cut off their sandwich the right way. If your parents don't feed you for 3 weeks, yes, justifiably mad. But if you're getting the crust cut off the wrong way, settle down. Don't be a toddler.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, on the random thing, are we good on Iowa State, Ohio?
We went real in the weeds on kicking it about really what the offensive architecture, the problems with it. So if you're interested in like how to fix the offense, not necessarily fix the offensive line, possible strategies for getting the box players between offensive linemen, tight ends, running backs to get that group to be better. It was like a solid hour's worth.
Good. I can't wait
on
to
kicking
listen to
it.
that.
So it just came out, I think 6:00 this morning. So like,
And we're trying not to repeat things on both shows because they're filmed one day after the other.
And normally we have a
next
guest.
morning.
Normally we have a guest to try and preview the next one. But we missed out on Brandon Whedon, Barry Sanders, and Quinn Sharp. So shot for the moon.
Solid. You didn't reach out to Phil Forte?
Shot for the moon. Didn't quite get it.
No, but I did want to talk about this Colorado State game and what Deion is doing in college football. And I had a guy in the press box at Iowa State Saturday. I won't mention his name. I don't know if he wants me to.
Chris Williams.
It was not Chris Williams. But he said this Deion Sanders thing could change college football. It could completely change the aspect and grow the sport of college football. And me being a dirt racing reporter, I'm like, dude, college football doesn't need growth. It doesn't need it, like flat out. And I'm seeing it with TV numbers now, and I'm kind of getting what he's saying. Like, it is growing. They had a 9 p.m. Pac-12 game be the 5th most watched ESPN college football game of
Against
all
a Mountain West opponent.
Yeah, a rivalry that was non-existent coming into the year. I would stick up for Colorado State and the CU part, but both programs, I don't know. It just isn't. It's not a flashy rivalry until Jay Norvell mouths off with. By the way, everyone needs to stop defending Jay Norvell for that comment. That was stupid. He knew what he was doing. That's dumb.
Well, I think. Okay, so there are so many jump off points.
Sorry.
So no, there are so many jump off points here. Okay, so the thing with Jay Norvell and or Deion Sanders is when a dude talks trash, it is if you are a trash talker, talk back, man.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
Stand up and talk back. If it's not a thing that you normally do, don't, because that's their game. The second thing on this is the smaller part is that I think equating what Campbell had, his frustration that he had with what Deion is doing at Colorado, those two things are very, very similar in that humans react the same way when they are super competitive humans. Deion got trash talked by Norvell with a 4 out of 10 level of insult. It wasn't like, hey, you stupid mofo, blank, 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 blank. It wasn't that. It wasn't like a 10 out of 10 direct.
It wasn't anything that was like a bad dig at a guy or like a...
Right. It was a 4. It was like a 3 or 4 out of 10. But Deion then took that as a slight because that's what competitive people do. I did that all the time.
Absolutely.
Like no matter what, you find somebody else that said something negative about you or implied something about you. It's the easy example is George Karl, and he made up a story to give himself a competitive advantage. Everybody does that. So by having these extremely buttoned up coaches or these extremely buttoned up responses of saying like, well, we're going to play the next snap. The Bill Belichick, we're going to play the next snap and the next most is important. It's the man. We have to do what we're going to do and do your job. Like, that's not how humans think or interact. And I think for so long, because everyone's tried to play the Bill Belichick thing, it works for Bill because he's Bill. He's Bill.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for everybody else. And so by having what Deion is doing is taking the things that you normally would just bury behind, we're going to play the next play and we 1-0 and do your job. He takes that stuff and just says, nah, that's horseshit. I don't like it. Okay. Say the quiet part out loud with the competitive part of saying, I don't like this, therefore we will make this back. And the reason why I think for me, the reason why Deion's interesting, other than the fact that they're good, is because it's a real human talking. Like what you'd actually think of in there, he actually says it. And that's why what Campbell, like reacting to that fan, any other human being in that spot would have reacted the same way. And so I like the fact that Deion is being a human. And like Nick Saban has always been really good at this too. Like those two people are very similar outside of the Aflac commercials. But those two people are very similar in that, like, if Saban has a bad offensive half and, Jenny Taft is like, has to run down, Coach Saban, you weren't able to run the ball effectively in the first half. Yeah, offensive execution wasn't very good. Our running backs aren't hitting hard enough. Our linemen aren't blocking well enough. It's, we got to improve. Oh, damn. Okay, that's a real sentence. That's a real person saying a real thing that's really happening, as opposed to, hey, coach, you haven't been able to run the ball in the first half. Well, we just got to take it play by play. We got to make make some adjustments and come out in the second half. No one talks like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like Deion is sort of shattering the BS screen that exists. And if to me, that's the refreshing part of what Deion's doing. Now, does it come with some negative sides? Like you get your son trying to poke somebody in the eye. Like that's some BS. And there's going to be at some point, like they play Oregon this week. Will they win? I don't know. I doubt it because they're without Travis Hunter and they're playing in Eugene and Oregon's the first really good opponent they've played. So will they win every game? I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens after a loss, but honesty and forthrightness is what it's going to be. And so by being honest and then understanding that it's a show, bring in a bunch of people to make it a show. That's what Deion's doing. I don't think that there are a lot of Deion's around to be able to make that happen. Like I don't think Campbell's going to be able to bring in, Vin Diesel to a sideline.
I was hoping Matt had some outside connections to Lil Wayne.
And maybe
They're
Yormark's
using his intro song now.
Maybe Yormark's going to be able to get him in. But
that is a good point.
It's not a thing that it's not a thing that everybody can do.
Right.
But the thing that everybody can do is be honest and say something that's your actual opinion. And
overall, Deion probably hits at a 95-100% clip on that.
Yeah, is say what you're thinking. Like, and this is one thing. So my wife works in content strategy, like works with big brands and whatever. And one of the things that the two things that make content strategy good are consistency and having a voice. And consistency, every coach has press availability every week. You're going to get something from somewhere. But having a voice and saying something to draw interest to whatever thing you're going to do. One, winning. Yes, obviously, if you're winning, that makes it easier. But one team can win a national title, and 5 teams can win a Power 5 conference championship in any given season. The other 128 aren't. So if you're one of the other 128, how do you draw interest? If you're Colorado's probably not going to win the Pac-12. But if you're going to draw interest, be consistent and have a voice. Whatever your voice is, have it, and that makes it interesting because people like watching stories.
And I'm going to also go out and say that you guys, if you go look at, I forget if it was ESPN or SportsCenter on Instagram, but they had 12 posts or 15 posts in a row, all Colorado. It's going to get shoved down your throat because it's drawing these big numbers. It's stuff we haven't seen before. And it doesn't help that Pat McAfee has his show now, and they're doing that Friday episode of the Pat McAfee show on campuses with these coaches. So it looks like ESPN just went to Boulder a day early so they could off, can I say that on here?
Probably not.
Quack Deion Sanders all day on the show. And it's just because that's how they're setting it up to where he's at, and they're going to give the game some extra spice because it's on the ESPN channel, and they're going to promote it beforehand. So it looks like they're trying to go after this prized possession cow, I guess. I'm missing the whole catchphrase on it. Yeah. They're going after it, and all it is just, yeah, they have the Friday show, and they're giving a little more press. And then
the more appropriate metaphor would be golden goose, by the way.
Thank you. That's what I couldn't think of the animal. But like Jay Norvell tweeted, with all the media involved in this game, not one reporter asked me about my comments. His comments were, who would interview with a hat and sunglasses on? That's disrespectful. I don't need to ask you about that. That's just a bad take. I'll tell you it's a bad take to your face, but I don't think a lot of college coaches would appreciate me coming up to them and telling them, hey, this quote you had yesterday sucked. That's all I got to say, and walking away. I don't think they'd appreciate that.
I think, at some point, everything good will become too much in America, which we're really good at that. But at some point, the narrative is going to change. Like they're going to recognize they're going to squeeze too much juice out of the orange. But the other thing about the Deion thing that makes me real, and about the Colorado State game, the people that think that the SEC Big Ten Super Conference is going to happen, that game showed why that is a stupid take.
Yes.
That
absolutely.
will never happen, because the reason why Colorado State matters is because it's a story, it's at the highest level, and it's something other than what people are already watching. Because Ohio State and Michigan, people are already going to tune into Ohio State and Michigan, but this story has been generated from this other thing. If Colorado and Colorado State, if they broke off into this quote SEC Big Ten thing, and it was just 30 teams, are Colorado and Colorado State in either one of those in there? No, but it's still the 5th biggest draw of all time. So, okay, proves that other people, it matters to other people. And the future of college football, Deion not going to Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Georgia, whatever, but not going to one of those schools and going to Colorado. No, granted, Colorado in 1991 would have been a huge brand. It fell off.
And you remember how hard Deion tried to go to Florida State and has kind of broken the mold of like, well, I'm going to go get the number 1 recruit at Jackson State.
Yeah.
Instead, they're the only guys that would give him a chance. And I mean, that's an underdog story that you can appreciate. He doesn't look like an underdog anymore because he's built his way to what he has now. His record as a head coach is unbelievable. It's like what, 33-7?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so like the reason why the majesty of college football doesn't apply logic. There is no logic about this. It's not like I will tune into the Colorado and Colorado State game because I feel it will be a quality football match. No, you watch it because it's an emotionally engaging story. Like him or hate him, Deion is a story. Like him or hate him, Shedeur Sanders is an interesting quarterback. Like no matter what it is, it's interesting, and the storyline then works. And so if you're going to say, because the mathematics of Georgia's games are superior to the mathematics of pick any other team, their games, we will then only show Georgia games. Okay, well, you're shooting out all the other stories that could possibly exist. So like the Big Ten SEC only Super League thing will never happen because
I think everyone's on the same page of hoping not, but I think money and greed.
But here's the thing.
Prevent me from moving from 95% no to.
Here's the thing with the Big Ten SEC only thing. We talked about this in the episode 1 of Kicking It, and I will say it again. The transitive property of giving a shit is the only reason that college football exists and matters.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is Iowa State matters to me. I graduated from Iowa State. I played at Iowa State. I will then watch other things that have some level of relevance to Iowa State. So Colorado's going to be in the Big 12 next year. All right, I want to watch Colorado. Why do I care about the Big 12? Because Iowa State's in the Big 12. Colorado matters to the Big 12, which matters to Iowa State, which matters to me. Sever those ties at any point along the way, and I don't care. I'm not watching the Big 10.
And then you're not getting $9.3 million.
You're not getting $9.3 million. And so let's say it's the Big 10 and the SEC only, and you got USC and you got the West Coast, and you got some of those, but you're missing most, and it's only the top 35 teams. The NFL is 32. If I want to watch the best of the best,
if I'm only watching 32, and okay, you took the bands away, and you took the tradition and rivalries away, and everyone's just power school versus power school from a random spot in the country. Okay, that's the NFL.
It's the NFL. And so if you're going to watch the best, I'm not going to watch 18 to 20-year-old kids or 18 to 22-year-old kids screw up all the time relative to the NFL. I'm going to watch the NFL. And so by trying to get the Big Ten and the SEC and just those two being the big conferences, you're ostracizing most of your audience. Most people will not care. The schools that are not involved in that are going to pay attention to where their school's at to some extent, or people are just going to bail for the NFL. And by that, when we're talking about greed and logic, or greed and whatever, if you're thinking about it just in a monetary perspective, if there are 340 million eyeballs, pairs of eyeballs in the United States, and you're trying to get 10 or 12 million in every single game, okay, well, you've got 30 games, you got 10 million apiece. That's the entire country. Let's cut out 60% of the possible audience because your teams are no longer involved in that. Can you make that much money anymore?
Yeah.
No, you can't make that much money because you're cutting out the number of teams that are going to do it. I think there will probably be some separation from the whatever Power 5, the top league of teams, but it has to be representative enough of the country to actually matter. Cincinnati has to be involved in that because otherwise people won't care. Like Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma State have to be involved in that because otherwise people won't care. And if my team isn't in this thing, I'm not going to watch this thing. And spread that across every school that gets kicked out of it, the money won't be there. Now imagine the other side of it is you take basically Power 5 plus some schools that exist that are representative across the geography of the nation with the biggest amount of fan bases, and then that group together negotiates for TV rights. The top 70 programs, or top 65 programs, top 55 programs, whatever it is, and
I was gonna
that
say
negotiates for TV rights. That's a huge package.
Right.
That's where the money is. It's not in these just 30 teams. It is absolutely asinine to think that that's ever going to exist.
And obviously it's ever changing, and at some point we're going to have a different shift, and the ideas that come from that shift are going to be drastically different than what we're talking about now. But I still think there's room for some of these smaller programs. And I'm not just doing the stick up for the little guy thing, but look at Tulane, how rock solid they've been the last few years on the football field, especially. And they have that AD down there that used to be at Northern Iowa is a fantastic dude at his job. There's an outside chance that Tulane sneaks into one of these conferences, especially when we figure out whatever happens with what the Pac-12 was or is today or what. And if they can find a way to sneak in like SMU did for the Big 12, you're a power conference now. You're just like everybody else. You got to treat it that way.
You know what what I would absolutely love is relegation. Would
I
absolutely love relegation.
I hate like thinking like a soccer fan in that aspect of most leagues, but like with what's going on right now, I almost think it would work.
If you have like a tier 1 and a tier 2 and you have and a tier 3 or whatever, and you get relegated up and down successfully inside of there and like whatever criteria,
that would be fun.
That would be fun because then every game matters. I mean, is it going to happen? Absolutely not. There is a 0.00001% chance that exists. There's a better chance of you walking outside and getting hit by a goose the shape of a football. But I think it would be fun. That one that's a wish. The thing of the Big Ten SEC forming their own superpower league and excluding everybody else, that will never happen.
Which one do you think's more likely?
Of the Big Ten SEC, I mean, if we're talking the grand scheme of possibilities, that is a more rational, stupid decision than relegation. But neither one is going to be. I don't think either one's going to happen.
One more thing before we get into the last random deal, but as far as the NCAA goes, in these teams, Noah Shannon at Iowa, Taz, what was his name? Taz at UNC?
Tez Williams.
Taz Williams. Those two guys.
Or Tez Walker, excuse me.
Taz, okay. We'll get it anyway.
Yeah.
But, so those two guys, what happens if Iowa decides to throw Noah Shannon on the field?
Do it.
What happens if UNC tries to do that? Because I've seen so many people bring this up. I feel like in the past, we've never even hinted at that. But there's so many journalists bringing this up. I want to see it happen. I got to see what the NCAA does.
Well, the thing that they would be able to they would be able to do is essentially exclude you from the record books or exclude you from opportunities. So if you play Tez Walker and they give you a warning and say if he plays one more game, then this season will be voided and you will not be eligible for bowl games or whatever. So that's basically what's going to happen. But it's just one more example. So like the future that we were just talking about, where the top X number, representative of the whole country, which 60, 70, 50, somewhere in there, they move on to form their own football league and then form a governing body that's actually worth a shit. And that right now is another sort of brick in the wall or brick in the road that goes from this to that, because the NCAA has no enforcement mechanism. It feels sort of arbitrary, it feels reactionary, and there doesn't really have a lot of teeth. So it doesn't. This is just one of those things of like the NCAA is a crumbling edifice, and when you take the crumbling edifice off, the emperor has no clothes. So like that's one of those things that, if you play it, they're going to void wins or they're going to void scholarships or they're going to void whatever, and there's enough red tape that you can sort of play around with. But it feels like it's one of those things that just the thought of doing that shows how inept the NCAA is and has been. It is the most bureaucratic organization, and man, do they make a lot of stupid decisions.
Yeah, they absolutely do. All right, it's storming outside today. Jeff, you're one of the most intense people I know, especially when I saw you on TV when I was a kid. So, Aiden, you got this ready to go? This is a TikTok I saw last night while searching. Oh, you don't have to put the sound all the way up. Jeez. So, this is overseas somewhere. I think one of them's in Denmark. There's multiple centers for this.
Okay, I'm interested in seeing whatever this is.
This is supposed to be, Aiden, I'll buffer some more time here. This is storm simulation. And I guess this is supposed to be relaxing. I wanted to ask you if you would do this. They're sitting in a hot tub, if you're on the podcast, and they're pounding rain at you while lights and stuff simulate lightning in the background. It's called a storm simulation chamber.
Do I think that
Would this be relaxing? Would you try it?
I would try it?
I think that's where I was at. I would try it too. But I was driving here today. It was pouring. I felt that one was the best one to bring up on the show today.
I think it feels like the lightning would be a lot. So
does.
really, so the description of this is, again, great podcast. The video is, so literally it's people fitting in this, like this giant hot tub with, there's like little handles that you can get in and out of, make sure you don't slip, because, you know, lawyers have words too. And there's just pounding rain, there's bubbles coming underneath, and there's lightning everywhere. It's just this crazy flash, 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 flash. I think it could be kind of fun because you're already wet and getting rained on, whatever.
Yeah. That water can't be hot either.
No.
It's not a hot tub, right?
If it's probably room temperature water.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be interesting, but I you know, if you know that you're safe from a storm, the sounds of a storm might be nice. But
The other one we
it's a
don't-
lot of lightning.
The other one we don't need to pull the video out for because I just found it on Twitter, but there's like different types. Like this dude was just standing in like a NASCAR style wind tunnel with like water being thrown at it. It's not like in a tub or anything at all. You're
That
just,
doesn't sound enjoyable
they
at all.
said it simulated a Category 4 hurricane.
That sounds horrible
Yeah,
because the wind.
At least the first one, you're like in a tub, you're already wet. Like that's
No, I would not want to get wind whipped at me at 100 miles an hour. That sounds like a really, really bad idea. That sounds super uncomfortable.
yeah. I just want, if anyone out there is thinking about starting the hot tub version of it in Iowa, let us know. We'd love to do some advertising work with you.
Yeah, it's,
and Jeff and I will try it. We'll be the
I'll
first
try
to
it.
try it.
I'm in to try it as long as it's not the. It's not, as long as it's not the hurricane one. I don't want the hurricane one.
Absolutely. All right. This is Football and Random Things. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week.